What's up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome to the Monday edition of Renegade of Wrestling. I am your host, JJ Williams, and I'm going to be doing your Q&A questions like always, but I also want to touch a little bit on some indie wrestling that I saw this weekend. That's supposed to be my theme anyway, so I actually have a little something to talk about, and I'm going to do that right now. First thing I'm going to talk about is the EWF Jingle Slam 3, which occurred this past Friday night. The main matches I want to talk about were the final three. We had a tag team gauntlet match, which was a little confusing to me at first because they put the champions in the first match and they lost, so by most standards, the gauntlet should have ended right there because the title changed hands. The whole storyline was to see how far the champs could fight through and defend their titles. So when they lost the first fall, technically that should have been the end of the match, the way I was looking at it, but I've never really been to that many EWF shows. I don't know if this is a standard for them, but the match kept going. The Barroom Saints were the tag team champions. They lost the straps. We had Iron Man Mike Mays and Andrew Hellman in the gauntlet. A team called Nothing But Trouble, the Von Dooms, Vintage Dragon and Cyanide, Anchors Away, and another team in there that I didn't really catch the name for. We kind of jokingly dubbed them Arabs in Eights because two of them had masks and the other one was unmasked, so it was kind of like, Devon while the other ones were still masked. But the Von Dooms were able to finally defeat Anchors Away to become the new EWF Tag Team Champions. Congratulations to Vintage Dragon and Cyanide. Vintage Dragon is actually whose t-shirt I'm wearing right now. You can get this shirt anywhere Vintage Dragon wrestles. Be on the lookout for him around SoCal. The next match was a Survivor Series style elimination match, and the heel team, which consisted of such names that you've probably heard about, hear me talking about from Battleground: Tito Escondido, Rico Dynamite, Robbie Phoenix, Damien Arsenic, and EWF regular Sugar Sweets defeated the Babyface team. The only names I was able to catch on that team was SoCal Crazy and Justin Borden, who is usually a referee, actually climbed into the ring and wrestled. Don't really know the storyline as to what was going on with that, but it was an entertaining match nonetheless. The heel team won with 3 survivors. And then the main event, the match that everybody poured out to the Knights of Columbus Hall in Covina to see, Joey Ryan defending his EWF Heavyweight Championship against Brandon Gatson, the challenger. It was pretty much a no-brainer that Joey was going to lose the strap. It was just a matter of how it was going to be done. Was he going to drop it to Gatson, or was somebody else going to come out and challenge him? Some kind of contendership clause, a la maybe a Money in the Bank briefcase. Again, not that familiar with EWF, and if they have anything along those type of lines, PWG's got the winner of Bola gets to challenge for the title, stuff like that. The Ramirez Cup and Battleground can cash in for a title shot, so didn't know if EWF maybe had something along those lines that could have been turned in after Joey had defended against Gatson, but alas, all of that rambling was for nothing because they didn't, and Joey ended up dropping the belt to Brandon like everyone pretty much figured he would. After that, Saturday we went to Apex Pro Wrestling. First time I'd ever been there, and they were having a tag team tournament to crown their first ever tag team champions. Anchors Away over the team of Ridiculoso and Biggie Biggs, aka Ridiculously Big. Freddie Bravo and Jarek Matthews over the Von Dooms. La Familia, Damien Arsenic and Rico Dynamite over the team of Jacob Terrasso, I hope I pronounced that right, and Tara Calloway. Sex and Violence, the team of Sexy Chino and Mikey Violence, over the Agency, the team of Terex and Cedric the Hitman. Both this match and the Bravo Jarek Von Dooms match had run-ins in that one. Terex and Cedric distracted the Von Dooms. Cedric hit Vintage Dragon with his briefcase, causing them to lose that match. And the Von Dooms basically repaid the favor in this match. Then we had an intermission. Came back, and Jarek Matthews and Freddie Bravo defeated La Familia. Again, Damien Arsenic and Rico Dynamite. Anchors Away defeated Sex and Violence. Once again, that was Sexy Chino and Mikey Violence. Then we had the heavyweight title match. Brandon Gatson, the Apex Pro champion, defeated SoCal Crazy to retain his title. And then we went into the finals of the tournament, where Jarek Matthews and Freddie Bravo defeated Anchors Away to become the first tag team champions for Apex Pro. Now, as soon as the match was over, I had a little bit of an issue with this, because Anchors Away, whether they're hated or cheered, they're a really respected team in SoCal, which may be why they chose to have them put over this other team. But right from the gate, everybody else had a team name, and Bravo and Jarek seemed like they were just kind of thrown together, and I've always had an issue with blank and blank tag teams. You know, two guys just thrown together for the short term, not any kind of long term. You know, where you've got teams in the tournament like Anchors Away, Ridiculously Big, the Von Dooms, you know, all guys that have long-standing tag team history with each other. You know, so for a blank and blank team to win the tournament, I had a little bit of an issue with, but in the post-match promo is where I decided to change my mind, because they basically, you know, kind of came together, declared themselves Straight Edge America, because Freddie Bravo has an America gimmick with red, white, and blue trunks and everything, and Jarek Matthews, the ultimate optimist, you know, declares himself a straight edge, kind of like Punk does. So they decided to name themselves Straight Edge America, and by doing so, I kind of went ahead and forgave that booking as a fan, because they decided to become a full-time team. So we'll see where that goes from there. I definitely would go back to either EWF or Apex Pro again. The shows were really well booked and ran, even though I didn't know some of the talent at both companies. I was very impressed by the overall product. And if you guys are in SoCal and get a chance to see either Apex Pro or EWF, the Empire Wrestling Federation, which usually runs in either San Bernardino or Covina, Apex runs out of Southgate, I definitely encourage you guys to go and check that out. Give them your hard-earned $10 and support some local indie wrestling. Now, on to my questions for today. From YouTube, Rabid Pit 189. In TNA, we've seen almost every gimmick match imaginable take place inside of a steel cage. Tables, handcuffs, even a wedding. My question to you is, do you think Gut Check could be the next attraction we see TNA take place inside of a cage? It would have to be a really experienced Gut Check worker. You know, it would have to be someone come along the caliber of a Joey Ryan or a Christian York, who's been in the business for a long time and can actually pull something like that off. These new guys that are coming through Gut Check, you know, your 18, 19, 20, 21-year-old kids that are looking for this as their big break, no, I don't think any of them could do it. But if you get another person trying to get a Gut Check contract, a la Christian York or a Joey Ryan, who's actually, you know, a vet in the business, then yeah, I think a Gut Check inside of a cage would be an interesting, you know, attraction to see. It just has to be the right person. New York Giants Finest 71. Hey JJ, do you think it's time for WWE to end the PG era? I know some would disagree, but I think the PG era gave us some good matches. I just feel that 5 years later from the start of the PG era, it's time to go back to TV 14 and start with a new era. In my opinion, the WWE has potential with Punk as a heel and his feud with Ryback. We could also bring back the Ruthless Aggression era John Cena and the Bryan Danielson we loved on NXT. Let's not forget about the new stable, The Shield. I've been saying almost as soon as the PG era started that it was time to end the PG era. I think the PG era is one of the worst things WWE's ever done. Yes, you're right, there have been a couple of decent matches here and there. Punk Cena in Chicago is a prime example. Triple H and Undertaker Hell in a Cell is a prime example. You know, but overall, you're right, the PG era, it's time for it to end. I do agree it needs to go back to TV 14 and start with a new era. Like I dubbed on one of my last shows, I think it could be the era of honor. With all the ROH guys that are getting their push and their break into WWE now, would be a great way to capitalize on that. And the Shield is supposed to represent justice and honor. As far as Punk's feud with Ryback, I'm not sold on that yet. You know, Ryback is god-awful in the ring. You know, he freaking jacked up Punk's knee on Raw this past week, and Punk had to have emergency knee surgery. You know? So I don't know how long Punk is going to be out with that, but thankfully, for the time being, at least WWE is going to allow him to keep the strap. I think they've invested too much into the push of his gimmick to just strip him of the title and cheapen the whole push, and I think they've put too much on Punk Rock at the Rumble, even though they haven't really announced that and started building towards that. All the groundwork has been laid over the previous months via Twitter, Tout, Rock's appearance on Raw where Punk gave him the GTS. I believe that was the 1000th episode. The groundwork is there on that, so I think that they've invested too much to just strip the title from him and put it onto a filler spot just to get it into the Rumble. So, let me see here. Ellis Turner. Hey JJ, do you believe that Austin Aries and CM Punk could have a great feud, because I believe that they could put on 5-star matches? And do you think they are just alike? As far as styles, I do see a lot of similarities between the two. I do think they could have an excellent feud, because Austin Aries is who Punk defeated in Ring of Honor to start the whole summer of Punk. He took the ROH title off of Austin Aries, started that huge heel storyline that was one of the most captivating angles that ROH did. You know, Punk's reign as champion was only 55 days, but there was so much in those 55 days that it felt like a lot longer of a reign. On a bigger stage, they could have an awesome feud, just like him and Bryan were having until they decided to stifle that and turn Bryan into a joke. It would be awesome to see, maybe like at either a WrestleMania or even at like Bound for Glory, some kind of match between the two of them. It would be really good for the business, I think. And last question for today is from Golden Eagle 407. Hey JJ, who is better, the Surfer Steen or the Crow Steen? Gotta be the Crow Steen, dude. He was so captivating. You know, he went almost an entire year without saying a word. Finally got his hands on Hogan. They had that classic match. Crow Steen, I just think, has always been more intriguing, more intimidating, more of an enigma, if you will, than Surfer Steen. Surfer Steen was way over the top. It was classic, you know, 80s babyface versus attitude babyface, you know. the Surfer Stain worked for its time, but as the times changed, he needed to evolve, and he did. And the Crow Stain was better in my opinion. And then he evolved again in TNA into the Joker Stain, which I even think is a little bit better than the Crow Stain. Not by much, but just a little bit. So, that is it for the questions this week. Thank you all for your questions from YouTube. Make sure you hit me up on the Facebook fan pages. Send me questions there. Tweet me at ROWJJ Williams with your questions. Post video responses. I will download them, edit them into the shows, and you can be seen on the episode instead of me just reading your names. Make sure you tune in to Unlimited Radio 247.net Lowdown Radio Show tomorrow at 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, 9 p.m. Eastern Time for Sean Cloth's interview with me. I'm not sure exactly what he's going to be asking me about just yet, so I'll probably be as surprised as you are, and I'll be brutally honest like I always am. Thank you again to Unlimited Radio 247.net for allowing us to post our videos exclusively to their website. And until next time, I'll see you right here inside the Casa D18 studios at Unlimited Radio 247.net.